I don't know if I can get to you. Yeah, here. Sorry, guys.
Other people posted on Piazza
Having the same issue.
issue like last night. Same thing.
Yeah, it's usually like 3 or 4 hours before AWS is like, you're a real person, you're not a spammer. Sorry.
Sorry.
You had a question, right?
Yes. AWS Educate. Do we need to link those somehow?
I don't know if what. Okay. I don't think you do right now. I'll fix it on Piazza. Thanks. Sorry for that. Yeah. Did you click review and launch? Okay. Yeah. Here, Rajat will help you. All right. So unless there are any other questions, we're going to go ahead and continue on now that the stream's back up. So let's try and connect to it. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to find the IP address of your instance. And that can be found by, wait a minute. Okay, so you guys should have, under your list of instances, you should have the T2 Nano that you just started. Does anybody not have that? Okay, so if you right-click on that instance, you can go down and click Instance State and then Start. Alternatively, there's a checkbox on the left of it, and you can do it from the top down up there. Yeah. Yeah. Or no, you don't. If your instance state is already running, sometimes it doesn't start immediately when you click launch. But if your instance state is already running, don't terminate, don't do anything. Just let it be, and we'll go from there. You should see a green icon next to it. It says running. If you don't see that, it might be yellow. It says pending. If it says pending or starting, then that means that the instance is currently in the process of getting set up. So it'll get there eventually, but AWS needs a couple seconds for it to start up. Is that a question or? Okay. So this will start the process. So either clicking launch when you've started the instance, or doing this instance state start will start the instance. And after it goes from pending or starting up into running. After it hits running, you'll be able to SSH into your instance. If you go to stop the instance, that will shut down the computer or shut down your instance, but you'll still be able to restart it at any point. If you reboot it, it's just bouncing the instance. It goes down and then it comes back up. But if you click terminate it, that destroys the instance and all memory of it. So the data gets deleted, and the machine settings get deleted, and kind of everything with it vanishes. So be careful, be sure when you're terminating your instance that you either got an AMI of the machine already, or that you've saved all the data somewhere, because it's gone once you terminate it. We say don't terminate this machine, obviously, but once we get through recitation, if you want to, you can terminate the machine, just since we've done the demo. Yeah. Yeah, they do. They charge by 1 hour blocks, but the billing, yeah.
If you start a machine and stop it right away, you can still get charged for an hour.
You do, yeah. So
Just something to be aware of.
yeah, just something to be aware of. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So this is what it'll look like. Green to, if you guys haven't seen this already, when you do this start process, it'll go from either red, which says stopped, into orange or yellow, which says pending, and then into running. So now we need to connect to the instance that is now up and running. So what you can do is you can click on the connect icon in the top right, or excuse me, in the top left of the screen. And when you click on that, you should get this pop-up, which should say, I would like to connect with a standalone SSH client or something else. And you guys should click standalone SSH. And then, for those of you who are on Windows, you guys can do this with PuTTY, but for anybody who's on Linux or Mac, we're going to just be doing SSH, and then this is your public IP right here. It doesn't look like a traditional IP. It looks a lot more like a URL. This is our IP, but it's going to be different for you guys when you actually do it. Has anybody not been able to find the connect button or is confused with what's going on right now? Okay. And then the other thing to remember to do is if you're doing this on a traditional Linux machine with just SSH, you need to chmod the PEM file, which is your private key. If it's not permissions 400, then the SSH client's going to have some trouble connecting to it. And so to actually do the connection on an SSH client, you're going to do SSH -i, the name of the private key file, and then in our case it was root at EC2. Depending on your AMI, it might be root, it might be Ubuntu, it might be user or EC2 user. Keep an eye on what this says at the bottom, and it'll usually get it right for you. Yeah.
Which to choose?
PuTTY?
Yeah.
Can you help? Yeah. Are there any other questions? All right, so go ahead and connect to the file to the machine using an SSH client. And once you're in there, you should just get blank terminal screen with Ubuntu at or root at your machine name. Yeah.
I'm not sure what I should do now. Because it's open. I should open it.
Yeah. So open a terminal.
Oh, there's some other.
And
SSH -i, and then the name of your. No. So the name of your private key file needs to go there.
My what?
So the key file that you downloaded.
Do I need the address of it or it's okay?
So you. Yeah.
The name of it. The name of it is enough, or I should put the address of it in front of it.
Yeah. So one quick thing is when you're doing your SSH command, you need to be in the folder with your private key file in order to immediately put the name of the private key file in the command line. So cd to wherever your private key file has been saved, or if you're in PuTTY, I believe there's an option to upload the key file directly to the application. And then PuTTY's different, but if you're in Linux or Mac, just SSH -i, the name of the key file, and then the root at or Ubuntu at, and then your machine name. Yeah. So that's the chmod 400. So if you do chmod 400 in the name of the file, then you should be able to get past that error. I can't hear you. Is the if you go to your AWS console, does it say running? Okay, give it a sec. If it's not, if it hasn't immediately connected in like a minute, then you can try rebooting the machine and then going from there, sort of redoing this process. The other thing to note is that when you take down your machine, so when you stop your machine or when you reboot the machine, the IP is going to change. So if you're using something like WinSCP or I believe PuTTY also saves the IP depending on your settings, you'll need to re-enter the IP once the machine is restarted. Amazon, on their end, starts the machine wherever it feels like, so the IPs change. I believe you can pay extra for a static IP, but not. Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys have if you guys get a message that says something like the fingerprint, so on and so forth, cannot be established, are you sure you want to continue connecting? You can just type yes. Go through everything with yes during the SSH process, and then you should end up in the file, or end up in the machine. Yep.
Permission denied. So
Yeah. So do you did you do chmod 400?
oh no, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah. Authentication failed. Did you? Oop. Are you saying that is it the permissions error, or does it just say authentication failed? Are you using the right IP?
I would get that one. You see, like, his user tracking.
Okay.
If you want to do that.
Not off the top of my head. Yeah.
Does that mean it works?
So that
Yep. That means it works.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you guys have successfully SSH'd, it should say at the bottom of your terminal or whatever you're using, it should say, Ubuntu root or something at then your machine name, and then you should have a blank terminal. Yeah. What happens? Have you try pressing enter?
Yeah, so it's just like a black blank.
Just a blank terminal.
Yeah. And also, actually, I use this Windows Ubuntu, but this is not also.
That
reacting.
yeah. Let's see. Does it say running on your EC2 home?
Yeah.
Does it look like the connection's hanging, or does it look like it's just?
I have no idea. Actually, I used AWS before on Ohio server.
Yeah.
I never encountered.
Okay. Huh. Yeah. It's the same thing. So I personally use that Windows 10 Ubuntu shell, and it works for me when I try to connect in general, but
That works for me with Ohio.
yeah. Are you on a VPN? No? Yeah. Oh. For the sign up for AWS, like usually around 5 hours. Yeah. You got it?
just created one very.
Okay, to answer your question, the professor, so sometimes it's a little bit less. You got it, he started the process when he entered class, and he just got the email for it. So sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. I haven't seen it over 5 hours, but typically it's less. Yeah. Who knows? If you don't mind, what was the problem? Just now it works. Okay. So good. So for those of you guys who are already on the machine or anything like that, you can CD around, create folders. You're a root user on this machine, so you can do basically whatever you want. The other thing you can notice is that if you do, depending on the AMI that you've installed, if you start Python, you can import all the machine learning libraries. So they should all be there if you guys want to give it a shot, assuming that you guys got a deep learning AMI for Python. All right, does anybody have any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and move on. Yeah.
I got kicked out of the machine for some reason. So how do you then been saying how like the username doesn't exist or something?
What did you sign in with, like root or Ubuntu or?
EC2-user.
Gotcha. Were you ever able to log on, or were you logged on and then it kicked you off?
I was currently on, I just got kicked out.
Yeah.
Like when you're kicked out like that, typically the terminal tells you that you should log in as Ubuntu instead or something. Like, is there a message like that? Like typically there's a message like, please try logging in as Ubuntu instead. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Should I dial the phone number to the AWS?
That's up to you. I did personally, but it's up to you.
So this presentation is all about how to set up a AWS and no other materials.
We're going to talk about setting up an IPython notebook on a EC2 machine, but this is basically the recitation. Yeah.
Can I go out and tell with the supporters?
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, if you want to, you can do that. Yeah. Yep.
Is there anything wrong with this?
That's fine. Yeah.
It just said the 8 GB is not.
Yeah. So change that to 50.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a? What's it? Yeah, so set it to 50. So if you go back to edit memory, then you can change it from 8 to 50. Yeah, so don't worry about it. You won't get billed for it until you get your token in. Yeah.
So I got in some
I guess I've never seen that error before.
It's not really error, just like a prompt that showed up, like saying the program includes with Ubuntu systems are pre-solver exact functions, etc., etc. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. If you want to, don't restart it from within the machine. Do it from the EC2 terminal if you decide to. Yeah.
So are we like doing the exact same thing and posting the same password or?
No, no, no. That was just.
Oh,
yeah.
never mind. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can just,
You're
like, ignore that step.
you're welcome to use that password if you want.
Yeah.
I think it's just. I think
But
it is.
I can just write my
Yeah, you can write your own. Yeah, yeah. Oh. One sec. Yeah.
I tried to Jupyter Notebook in the terminal, but it doesn't open a window in the browser.
Oh yeah, you need to.
Copy this address.
Yeah, just try
But
copying.
It says some problems.
Oh, because you're on localhost. So you need to type. Hold on. Well, there's like a whole thing. We'll get to it. Yeah. Are you good?
I think so.
Okay.
You know, like something happens.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next couple steps. So we're going to set up a Jupyter Notebook inside the EC2 machine. So this is how you SSH. And then this is what it looks like once you get in. And then from your home directory, let's create a folder called Notebooks. And then you can CD into that directory.
Does it have to look like that when you start up? Because it does.
Oh, no, it doesn't have to look like that, yeah. So yeah, depending, we mentioned that the AMI has changed since we made these slides. So you might get a slightly different start screen. So if you do, don't worry about it. So once you've made that directory, you can start running IPython. So, we're going to set up a basic password for your notebook so that you can log on to it and everybody else can't. Is that a question or? Okay, yeah. So once you start running IPython, you can do from ipython.lib import passwd. And then if you run that password function, it'll guide you through the process for creating a IPython password hash. And then you can set the password to whatever it is. This is the hash for password, if you're interested. And then make sure that you save that hash somewhere since we're going to be using it later. Yeah.
I don't have IPython installed, so like installed it, but I'm not sure if I didn't.
Since they might have changed the AMI, I would just install it. Yeah. Does anybody not have IPython installed on their AMI? Okay. For anybody who's listening, if you can't find IPython installed on your AMI because it's just an EC2 machine, or excuse me, just because it's a Linux machine doesn't mean that you can't install it. So you can go ahead and go through the process as if you were installing it on your own machine, and then go from there. All right, is everybody good with that step, or? Okay, so now we need to generate a config for your IPython notebook. So you're just going to do Jupyter notebook -- generate -config. And then that'll write a config to a default directory. Depending on your AMI, the path may be different. But for me, it was home ubuntu.jupyter and then Jupyter notebook config.py. So then once that's done, you guys can open up that file in whatever text editor you want. Here I use, I use Vim, but you guys can use whatever you want. But yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead. So if you guys get a note that says override the default config or something like that, you guys can go ahead and override it. Yeah. The default config is, I think, the same. I'm fairly certain it's the same file that this function generates when IPython launches for the first time. So there shouldn't be a problem overwriting it, but we're just going through the steps. All right, so once you've got that open, you can scroll down to the very bottom. And unfortunately, it's not displaying very well on the projector. But you should see, you can go to this pastebin link and then just insert this block at the bottom of your file. And then change the password to, this was the hash for password, but you can change it to whatever password you generated in the previous step. Yeah.
You said add that at the bottom of the file?
Yeah, just insert it at the bottom. Yeah. Is the link not working, or? Yeah, yeah. This is on the pastebin link. So if you go to that link at the bottom, then you should be able to find it. Yeah. So this text itself, if you go to this link, you'll find exactly that text, and you can copy and paste it into your terminal if you'd like. Correct, at the bottom. So